This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Bruchim Habayim, welcome everyone to a special edition of All Parsha on Parshas Noach, the Ben Ashri, the Tzaddik of Ranana on Parshas Noach, the Tzaddik of Ranana known as Rabbi Yitzchak HaKohen Huberman, offers quite a remarkable haftacha that anyone who says over his Divrei Torah in his name, the Tzaddik will pray and bail someone out of trouble, ba'olam hazeh u'ba'olam haba. So, I would like to share with you, b'siyata d'shmaya, 9 offerings of the Ben Ashri. We begin number 1. The Ben Ashri is medayek that 4 times the word Noach appears. Eila todos Noach. Noach ish tzaddik. Esoi kim b'salech Noach. Vayoyled Noach. It'd say Eila todos Noach. Ish tzaddik. Haya b'dayroisav. Es holakim his halech. Vayoyled shlosh abanim. Why repeat Noach, Noach, Noach so many times? Well, says the Ben Ashri, Noach times 4 is 232. The gematria of habracha, the blessing, which is also equal to the 4 ways to spell the Yud Kei Vav Kei. Different ways to spell the Yud Kei Vav Kei. Sometimes Hey is with a Yud, sometimes Hey is with a Hey, sometimes Hey is Hey Aleph. It can be spelled Hey Aleph, Hey Yud, Hey Hey. So there are different permutations of Hashem's name. One is 45, one is the equivalent of 52, one is 63, one is 72. The total 232. Noach, 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 all 4 permutations of Hashem's name, indicating that Noach was someone who was zoicha to miyached all combinations of Hashem in all forms, and therefore he was mamshech bracha to the whole world, and therefore it was Noach loy shenivra, it was worthwhile for him to be created. Then the pasuk says, Eila tolos Noach tzaddik, Tamim haya b'dayroisav. Tamim haya. Why does it have to say he was? Obviously he's not around now. The word haya is completely extra. So the Ben Ashri points out that the Medrash already picks up on this nuance, and the Medrash says whenever it says haya, it means he sustained people, and therefore that's the simple meaning. Tamim haya, he was mefarnes umezin. However, the Ben Ashri says that we can add as follows. Because the end of Bereshis, it says, V'noach matzachein be'inei Hashem. Noach found favor in God's eyes. Which Chazal darshan to mean that, Loi haya kedai, he was not worthy, he did not have masim toivim that he should be saved, but he was matzachein. He elicited a certain charm in the eyes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So in what way was he matzachein? We don't see in the psukim how Noach was matzachein be'inei Hashem. And the Ben Ashri says as follows: Chazal tells the Medrash Tanchuma that Noach was one of the 7 people who was born circumcised. And the Alkut Yosef teaches that the Yetzer Hara enters a person in those first 7 days while a person is Arel. Memela, Noach did not have an entry point for the Yetzer Hara, and therefore since he was circumcised from birth, he was predisposed to Kedusha, and the Yetzer Hara had a very difficult time overcoming Noach. And therefore, he was a tzaddik. Now, how do Chazal know Noach was born Mahol? Because Tamim Haya, that's how he was Mehavayasai. That's from the time of his birth, his creation. He was Tamim, he was Gemalat, he was circumcised, and therefore he found favor in the eyes of Hashem. He didn't really have Masim Tovim that he earned, but it was because that's how he was. That's how he was born. He was born circumcised, so he was born matzachein be'inei Hashem. Now, the Ben Ashri has an arichos on the following nuance, and it's hard to understand exactly how this answers the question, but I think there's something pretty remarkable that we could learn. It says, "Vayol Noach shloisha banim Hashem escham b'yasyafes," and the Ben Ashri quotes the Sefer Parshas Mordechai Hasfardi, who wonders, we know how to count, it's not rocket science. If you add up Shem, Cham, and Yafes, we know it's 3. Why does it have to say 3? And furthermore, in Parakeh Pasuk Lamed Beis, earlier on, it just says their names, and it doesn't say 3. Furthermore, the Ben Ashri quotes the Ben Ish Chai, who wonders that God blessed Noach and he said, Pru uravu, and then Chum comes along and he castrates Noach, and Noach can have more children, so it's like a bracha levatala. God blesses him, Pru uravu, and the immediate aftermath is he has no more children. So, bear with this approach, but the Ben La'ashri reveals a remarkable factoid, namely, that Noach had a fourth son. And even though it's not mentioned in the Chumash, it's quoted in the Seder HaDoros, Elaf Hashini, page Yud Gimel. His name was Yenuki, and Noach had this child after the Mabul from a different woman. Now, how Noach was able to have this child from a different woman if Chum did what he did, that's a little bit unclear. And says the Ben Lashri, even though it's not written in the Torah about Yenuki, but Leka Midi Deloy Ramizi Ba'araisa, he has to be alluded to in the Torah. And the Ben Lashri says that this Yenuki was a great chacham in astrology and in warfare, and that's where Nimrod learned to battle from. And he was Nisgaber V'Kavash Roiv Ha'olam because of what he learned from Yenuki. But the brothers chased him out of the house because he wasn't born from the same mother, and they didn't want him usurping any other nachla. In fact, that's why Chum did what he did. And this Yenuki was not engaged in Periya Verivia because he was so immersed in Chachma and astrology, sort of like what Ben Azai did, that he was so immersed in Torah, he did not involve himself in Puravu. Now, the difference is, says the Ben La'ashri, that a person can proliferate and procreate through the learning of Torah and teaching Torah. But this Yenuki, the fourth son of Noach, he was in no way contribute to the proliferation of the world. And the Ben Lashri says something interesting, that those who advance warfare, very soon their knowledge becomes obsolete and out of style, and the new weapons come out, and they make the older weapons completely useless. And therefore, after the Mabul, it says Shloisha Banim, so that you realize that it says Banim. Earlier on in the end of Bereshit, it doesn't call them Banim, because Banim means Bainim, builders of the world. And this Yenuki was not one of the builders of the world. And that's why it says 3 to exclude Yenuki. Yenuki is not one of them. Yenuki is not one of the Bainim of Noach. So he's, so to speak, alluded to in the fact that it says 3, it's excluding him. Now, if one wanted, since this is not really found in Chazal, it's found in the Seder HaDoros and it comes from the Chachmas Umas Ha'olam, one could possibly say the reason why the Torah says 3 is so that you don't mistakenly accept that there was a fourth child. But this is the approach of the Ben La'ashri. Then the pasuk says, Vayomer Elokim LeNoach, offering number 4. The Gematria Vayomer Elokim LeNoach is Avraham and Yaakov im HaKoilel, which indicates that Noach was saved because of his Toldos, not just Shem, Cham, and Yafes, but his future Toldos, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. So then why is the Gematria Avraham and Yaakov? Why not Yitzchak? Because since it says Elokim, Elokim is already Midas Hadin, the Midah of Yitzchak. Offering number 5. Asei lecha tevas atzei goifer. Rashi tevois, oilas, ayin lamed taf, oig, ayin gimel. This is a remez to that which Chazal say that Oig Melech Habashan sat on a plank on top of the that he took from the Teva, and he was able to rescue himself. Now, offering number 6, the Ben La'ashri is just medayek why sometimes the Torah uses the noun Teva and sometimes pronoun. So Asei lecha Teva satzei gofer. Kinim ta'ases ha Teva, not oisa, v'chafarta oisa. Noun, pronoun. Then Shlosh me'as amos orech ha Teva, noun. And then Tsayar tasa la Teva, noun. So something to be ma'ayin in, and the Ben Lashri says Hashem yar inai, why sometimes the Torah says Teva and Oisa. Then Rashi says that it needs to be coated on the inside and the outside with tar. Rashi says Shelo yariach Oisa tzadik reach ra shel zephyr, so that tzadik, referring to why Moshe's boat, Moshe's raft, did not have tar on the inside, so that tzaddik does not smell the bad smell of tar. Why does it have to say oisa tzaddik? Just say shalirech hatzaddik. Says the Ben Lashri. The Gemara says, Moshe menatar minayin. Where is there a remez to Moshe? We learn it out from B'Shagam Hu Basar. And the Sfarim tell us, he quotes Sidur Shal Shabbos, that Noach had the neshama of Moshe Rabbeinu. And therefore, since Noach had the neshama of Moshe Rabbeinu, the question is, the pasuk is, the Rashi is saying, Hashem didn't want Moshe Rabbeinu, who was in Noach, to smell that bad smell. So in other words, Rashi is troubled, and now we understand why the two boxes have to be the same, because it was not just Noach versus Moshe, but it was Moshe versus Moshe. And that's what Rashi says, that very tzaddik of Moshe that was in Noach should not smell the bad aroma in the Nile. And the answer why, in fact, in the times of Noach, the Rebbeinu Shalom was not concerned for that, is because there was no alternative because of the very strong waters. Okay, offering number 8. The dimensions of the Teva, 300 amos long. Says the Ben La'ashri, 300 is very significant. If you spell Elohim, Male, Aleph Lamed Pei, Lamed Mem Daled, Hey Yud, Yud Vav Daled, Mem, you get 300. That's Elohim b'miluai. 50 amos tall is a remez to the 50 Shari Bina. 50 amos wide, the 50 Shari Bina. 30 amos tall is a remez to Milos of Malchus. Okay, and finally, the Ben La'ashri speaks about the various levels of the Teva, Tachtiyim, Shniyim, Ushlishim, based on the teaching of the Baal Shem Tov, where the pasuk says, Boy ata v'chol beischa el Teva. You and all of your household should come into the Teva. The Baal Shem Tov teaches the Teva refers to the words of Tefillah. That you should boy ata v'chol beischa el Teva. You should put all 248 limbs in the words of Tefillah. You should not daven min hasafa el achutz. You should not daven just from externalities. One should not just daven superficially. Boy ata v'chol beischa el Teva. You should daven with every fiber of your being. And if you do that, so then, if you have improper thoughts, then the tefillah goes tachtiyim. Tachtiyim, if you have improper thoughts, the tefillah goes lezevel, and it's grabbed by the chitzonim. However, if a person thinks of themselves also, then it goes to the chayos, which is a reference to the malachi hashares. But the highest madrega is it should go to the top floor, it should go straight to the Rebbeinu Shalom. Okay? May all of our tefillos be naskayim. May we be able to fulfill by ata v'chol beischa el hateva, and may we continue to have the zchus to delve into the Torah's Hashem b'simcha u'b'bracha v'hatzlacha. Have a wonderful Shabbos. Parshas Noach haba aleinu l'Torah.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.